Welcome to the No Labels Podcast, where my goal is to push you out of your comfort zone to achieve greatness, to pursue that thing that's in you, your God-given dream, gift, whatever it may be. It's no labels because I'm in a place, not was in a place, but in a place of trying to figure out my own destiny, my own purpose. So here I am as I interview others to pull from their journey, to pull from their purpose, to pull from their grind. I want you to get it live and direct. I haven't made it, folks. I'm trying to figure it out. So why not take you on my journey? And we do this thing together. No labels, where we talk music, hip hop, politicians, everything. We're touching everything. And I want to give you my perspective as a believer. Anyone can come to the table. Let's talk about it. No labels. Yo, what's going on? This is No Labels Podcast, and we're in the building with Miss Latanya Stanley. I do podcasts with the most pettiest individuals. You know what I'm saying? We are with Miss Self Care herself. I'm gonna let her introduce herself. How you doing?
I'm good. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
So, of course, we got my co-host,
David Lewis. I got some petty today.
there you go. Petty Dave, and we have my other co-host.
I'm Audrey, and I'm just so very glad to be here.
You know what I'm saying? How y'all doing today, man? Look, this is self-care episode, everything self-care. And truthfully, I don't know what self-care means. But we about to find out. Like, I hear it everywhere. I hear the social media. I hear self-care day, self-care dinner, self-care. This is why I wanted, because this is a big topic going on in the culture, whatever. Yeah. So we're gonna jump on that. But I do got an icebreaker. Since, you know what I'm saying, we ain't been together in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a little
and
minute.
I kind of want to old.
And we got to acclimate our guests into the space
Please
so we
do.
don't, like, throw them, off anywhere mid-conversation. It's like we didn't know, just to give them a feel for kind of how we get down.
So we're going to, we're going to do an icebreaker just like that. And this is the icebreaker. All right, say, look, we all see it, Derrick Jackson. You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to get a conversation. This ain't no gossip. This is me speaking up on every faithful black man in America. Because listen, when Derrick Johnson got jammed up, it seemed like everybody... Derrick Jackson. That's his name. Derrick Jackson. Yeah, when Derrick Jackson got caught up, it was like Mr. Perfect. And so now everybody's suspect. So I'm speaking up on behalf of the real faithful black man.
Wow.
Because I was like, listen, it really is people... living what he was talking about, and what made it so it blew me so bad. What really made me mad about that situation is how he did his wife. And I looked at my lady. I'm like, listen, if I would have cheated on you, and I know the whole world looking at you, and you agree to come on live, I'm not bringing you on live with a bonnet on.
That lady said that was not a bonnet.
Disrespectful.
That was her helmet of salvation.
That was her.
She said that was not a bonnet.
Wait a minute. Did y'all not see the follow-up video?
Yeah, she did a video.
She did a video.
What she
It said, y'all see a bonnet and I see the helmet of salvation.
She said she didn't come to play dress up.
Like you see a sweatshirt,
Yeah.
I see the breastplate of righteousness.
What?
That's what she said.
I wish I was making this up.
If she cool with it, I love it.
I don't.
But
The question
I'm like-
is she really cool?
Yeah.
with it?
And I just had to speak up. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't gotta.
She looked hostage.
Y'all ain't gotta mention. Man, how y'all feel about that as women? You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't gotta say nothing you don't want to.
My perspective on it is Derrick Jackson has so much to say about everybody else. So let's not start giving advice that you're not living. And that's where he messed himself up. You were giving too much advice in your car. And I think it started off as, you just did one video and the people pumped you up and you weren't even living your own advice. So if you were living your own advice, we wouldn't be going through this right now. So
That's why they buried him. I ain't gonna flex.
That's
like,
why.
It's
Yeah.
like I wasn't even the dude he was talking. Like I'm faithful, so like who he talking about wasn't me. But I began to get irritated. Like after about the fourth video, I'm like, fam, bro, that's like he playing hitting like, bro, like come on. And as a man, like you a man. Like you know what I'm saying, like all right.
I honestly don't know who he is.
You
to be
ain't never seen that
before
video?
this. Seriously.
yeah.
Yep, listen.
So even before this whole thing came out, he's always come across to me as arrogant and unauthentic. To me, that's how he's always come across. And in that, I still know how to listen to past the person and get, like, if he says something, I'm like, okay, I agree with what he said. But just him and just the consistency and how he puts his videos out and how he just, can I just tears people, not tears people apart, but breaks these situations down. And, you know, with the whole thing of like, well, everybody's been asking me to do this. Okay, maybe they are. I don't know what the people that reach out to you say, but he's always come across as very narcissistic to me. But then also, I start to ask questions like, well, you never make mention of your own experiences or your own wife. It's always a very distant point of view, and he kept himself extremely separate and like shrouded. And so I didn't like that. Used to irk me every time I would. Like I didn't watch. I didn't like seek out his stuff to watch, but stuff would come through a timeline, and but I started to ask the question. So I was like, is he even married? Like because he never. I tend to be drawn to, especially when we talk about like social media figures. I'm drawn to people that come across as authentic. I am attracted to different vulnerabilities. So even in that space that people talk about their relationships, like the Ellises, like Kadeen and DeVal, like I like that if they're talking about a marriage or advice on relationship and you're in one, then both people in the relationship are contributors to the space.
Right. Like
and
Kev on stage and his wife.
Kev on stage, and Melissa
like
Frederick, like they, you know, they have their separate thing, but when they talk about relationship things, there's reference to their counterpart. And so he's been married for 4 years, but given all this, and you never have any references from your own life, and then to watch the video. I tried very hard not to watch the video with Noir, but it was like,
hold up, man. So she said it wasn't the bonnet. It was,
no,
that was,
she said it was her. That was salvation.
I mean,
I didn't watch
pull it
their
up.
video because once I had seen like the beginning of it when he was like, you know, holding on to her and everything, you could tell she was very uncomfortable.
That gesture,
I didn't watch it.
that particular gesture of how he was holding her hand, and it just reminded me of a past toxic relationship of my own.
controlling.
Yeah, very controlling. She did not want to be there. Like it was really forced.
But you know when he really pushed it. But you know what, bro? I swear, my partner called me, bro. I about died, bro. Cause I had to go to the video when this man did a third-person video of Derrick Jackson.
But what made me made me okay with that was when Kev on stage did the video about the video, and
I hadn't seen that
I
either.
like.
Bro, this man
I
did-
had to go to a social media personality, NAACP nominated is how he should be referred to.
Yeah.
Kev on stage.
Kev on stage.
And this man, bro.
Tab
and it's
one,
like,
congratulations, Tab
I ain't
one.
gonna spend too
Yeah.
much time on it. I just want to
But-
get y'all. What you want to say?
For his wife, so I think everybody was like, she looked like she was being held hostage. She looked really uncomfortable. But
She
then
looked uncomfortable.
when she came back and did the video by herself, it made me really be like, sis, blink 3 times.
Yeah, or is somebody behind this?
And then it makes me wonder, like, for him, because people like they come in for all the stops, because he makes his career off of ripping these people apart. So don't think if you fall, you exempt. And so first of all, he 5'6", which has nothing to do with anything.
Is he really?
But people, you know, that became
That car
a petty
will
point.
fool you.
That became a petty point. Like, first of all, you 5'6", sit down, young man. You know,
Yeah.
but it makes me wonder.
What we trying to say?
No, the car will fool you. The car will fool
He
you.
does. No, the dude looks like he's like 6'2",
He
6'3".
does.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
and I don't even know if that's true, but I saw a meme and it made me chuckle. But it makes me wonder, like, does he prey on the type of woman who would sit there and then go and defend and take this whole spiritual turn? And don't be using God to cover, like,
You know
I'm
what,
tapping
man?
out this conversation. My mind is unraveling.
And that's
I don't wanna
it was
see
a crazy
anybody.
situation. Like, but it was a crazy situation. I ain't gonna flex. And y'all good now? Cause I had to get that out. I had to represent for the real faithful men. Cause it really is some people.
Anybody else got something they want to get off their chest? I got something I want to get off my chest.
Get off, okay, so
Go ahead.
get
I'm
it
gonna
off.
put it in one sentence.
Get it off
Get
your
it
chest.
off
Audrey.
your chest.
Get it off
Two
your-
sentences.
Please.
2.
We here for it.
Everybody, every once in a while, need a good old Kurt cuss. I stand with Kurt.
Oh, we
I
got
was
the
about to bring
curve.
that up.
We got the curve.
And that is my official position.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody, every once in a
I'm
while, need a
listening
good
to
old
Stomp
Kurt
on Yo.
cuss.
All right, so look, Kurt,
I stand with
I'm
Kurt.
gonna be real. Like any man, like any person, like I don't know, like bruh, all of them been cussed out.
Yeah,
Bro.
and I've cussed a few people out. So I'm here to tell you, if that's
Does
what
that
it
fall
takes,
under self-care? Sometimes cussing
a
somebody
good
out?
cussing is very good self-care because if you
Therapeutic
hold that
catharsis.
in, you cannot hold that cussing in. I'm
Yeah.
here to tell you, hey, it is what it is.
I want Kurt.
Sometimes you got to let it out.
But it was like,
You
man,
got to let it out.
I heard the video and I was like, they was like, y'all heard Kurt Franklin cussing out. And at first I was already like, so, but then I'm thinking they're thinking a 12-year-old son or something like that.
This man is grown.
This man 33 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
Like, he pretty much proved his point when he posted.
When you leak,
and if
them,
you've
put it
got
out.
kids, you have cussed those kids one point in time. So,
bro, let's not
Kirk,
even flex.
let me tell you, something that your child have done, you've cussed them at one point in time, whether it's under your breath or out loud. I'm just saying. Hey, he's
David,
very grown.
David, what you got on it?
The whole thing was hilarious to me, honestly. I hate that it's a private matter that's now public business, and I just honestly, I don't think a lot about these social media phenomenons or whatever they got going on. I just kind of laugh. It's all entertaining to me, and this was especially entertaining because the son is odd. Like if you look at his page, he's loving this clout and this all the attention on him. He's loving it. But to listen to Kirk use that language, I thought that was hilarious.
I think he needs somebody to sample it and put it over
I'm
hip hop
telling you.
track.
Have you seen?
No, they doing that. They doing that.
They using it.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know, but
Have
give
y'all
somebody
seen
like the game. They got some good old, you know what I'm
But
saying?
the crazy thing is, if Kirk Franklin wasn't famous, we wouldn't be talking about nobody. People cuss every day.
Yeah.
So if he wasn't who he was, we wouldn't even be concerned. Like,
Right, and so
we hear
then it
people cuss their
becomes-
kids out in the grocery store.
Yeah.
So like, yeah,
And then it's just like the impossible standard that we hold people to. We think that because that they share their certain things publicly that we have a right to their whole public life. Which, okay, and so we can spiral this into self-care because Chrissy Teigen, who I adore, I'm not on Twitter, so I get her all on Instagram. She's great, but she is like I'm done after 10 years with Twitter because yes, I add positivity to that space, but the negativity is just taking a toll on me. And so she, after, very gracefully bowed out. Like I would see the things that she would tweet when she reposted them on Instagram because I'm just not on Twitter like that. But that was a big moment for people because she's got millions of followers. But it was a personal self-care moment that she took very publicly, and I'm like, I applaud that.
you gotta know when to step back. And it's a lady in my neighborhood, it's smaller scale, but she was over to like the full social committee, and the people like they would bash her. Why the pool not open? It was crazy, and we did some really good things because I'm on the social committee, like as a member. We did some good things, and she like posted in the group and was like, I'm done. Like she said, I can't, my anxiety level, and I'm thinking about a volunteer social committee position, you definitely should have stepped back. And so a lot of people were trying to keep her, have her to stay, and she was like, my blood sugar, my blood pressure, and I'm thinking, wow, all of this, you should have been stepped back, but everybody has their breaking point. But also the people that were trying to keep her there, you got to respect where she was at. And if she's telling you she's having to check her blood sugar and her blood pressure and everything ever so often, and people are calling her all times of the night, her anxiety level is up, respect that she needs to step back. So I seen her the other day, and she was like really happy and everything because she took a step back to focus on her self-care. So that goes back to, let me take a stand. So if it's too much for me, I'm the only person that can say when it's too much for me. And I think the society we live in now, people try to dictate and try to tell you or judge you when you say, I can't take enough. When I say I'm done with something, I'm done. You don't get to tell me you shouldn't be. No, you got a little bit more in you, because that's how people get burned out, and that's how people end up getting shot out here. So I'm telling you, let people have their
That's
time.
a fact. No, that was real smooth. That was like a real smooth transition. like you swerved it and then you dove right into it. Like, okay,
Yeah.
man. But like, since we are in self care, you really want to say something?
No,
Since we in that lane now, I was like, this whole notion of self care and whatever. And what I was thinking, I was like, I think because this was gonna be my icebreaker, but I'm gonna roll into it with the self care. Like, I was gonna ask y'all, like, do you really want to be successful? Is success worth it? Because with success, I think self-care is like super important. Loving you, knowing you, because you can't have success apart from getting rid of certain relationships. It's like, it's a whole trend. Like it's like almost, I'm gonna take it biblical. Like Christ had to drink a cup. Everyone had to drink a cup. Mm-hmm. Like success comes with a cup, whatever you may define, whatever it is. Like choosing to do whatever it is God put you here to do is gonna bring separation. It's gonna cut some people you knew your whole life. You know what I'm saying? People hating on you. Like it comes with that. It's like, so is it worth it? And like with being successful, like how do you do you manage like your self care? Like, what do you consider? How you feel about that? Like, is it worth being successful? How you handle that? Like, how
You think I'm successful?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I'm just like, oh, I thought you were overall excellent.
No,
You speaking about, well, thank you.
I'm talking about you. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just gonna tell you, I'm like a really down to earth person, and you know that.
Yeah.
I have. Somebody told me, I'm not going to mention their name, but they said you have like a brilliance and a ratchetness, and it just goes together, and people just from all types of people can understand you and they like you. So at first I was like, well, that's crazy, but for real, I gotta accept this. I mean, this is who I am, because everybody can't be, at this stature. Somebody got to be over here to relate to those that may not have. Not saying that I haven't, I don't have a certain stature about myself, but I'm real. What you get with me is what you're going to get. So with you saying that, like with the being successful and also managing relationships and self-care, I'm learning this year, because I'm a giving person and I do a lot for people, but also my relationships are changing drastically before my eyes, and I'm trying to hold on to them.
That's what I. Yeah, that's
they're
that's,
not.
yeah, that's what I was saying.
It's not working.
And it was like with the whole social media, because you said something last time you was on your podcast, and I experienced it about the whole social media thing, and it was like you was like when you write and you try not to look at. You said something in a way where you were like you try not to look at certain stuff so that your thoughts would be your own. Mm-hmm. And now where I work at, like 10 hours a day, I don't have no service except for 5 minutes. I might go outside to call, whatever. Other than that, I have no service. So literally, I'm off social media 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. And after doing that about 2 weeks, I realized I was like, I began to feel more like me again. It was like, because I didn't realize how many thoughts, how many people was thinking for me. You know what I'm saying? Like whether it come posts, whether it be good or bad, sermons, posts, positive posts, podcasts. It was like we don't realize how crowded, you know what I'm saying, our minds is. So like social media, I know social media has a lot to do with self-care and like how you handle it, how you break away from it, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it really does, because like, and you were saying about like a lot of the hashtags, people are just pulling on the self-cares, and that's true, because I seen somebody post the other day basically telling people what self-care looks like when that person doesn't look like self-care. So before I could even jump on this, I can't be stressed, run down, because I can't sell self-care. Let's talk self-care, a conference, when my life looks nothing like that. Yeah. So, and when I say that, when you just look up self-care, it's basically when making sure you're happy, making sure whatever your happiness is. My self-care may be sitting on my back porch every Sunday drinking a glass of wine. You can't tell me that's not my self-care. Yeah. Because it's whatever that de-stresses me, whatever makes me happy, and I'm able to produce where I need to go. So if yours is making sure your checkbook is balanced, well, my checkbook is already balanced, so my self-care is not your self-care. You got to be able to tap into whatever it is that makes you happy, but also while you're doing that, you're going to go on a journey to find yourself.
Exactly what I was about to say. In the words, you can't be a sheeple, in the words of Toby. You can't be a sheeple and have self-care, because have self-care is unique to you. So you have to, you know what I'm saying? You have to be authentic with yourself. Like you said, Sunday, glass of wine. Me, I like to ride. I'm weird like that. I really like to take drives. You know what I'm saying? Like at night, I might go on 95 and just drive. That's how I clear my head. Mm-hmm. And it's like everybody different. But in order to really have self-care, take care of self, love self, you have to be honest with yourself. You got to have honest conversations. I don't like this. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? And you can't be a sheeple. You gotta be authentic and unique. How y'all feel about that?
Well, before you get into that question, how would one go about finding themselves and finding out what their method of self-care is?
Ooh. And listen, this is just my opinion.
Okay.
But I think in order to do that, you almost have to cut off a lot of stuff around you.
Right.
You got to step back, and you've got to try to identify, where did I lose myself? Where did what happened, or identify those things are, what are those things that I'm saying yes to, but I'm like cringing when I got to do it. Or I'm saying yes, or I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. What is that? Because once you determine what that is, then also you need to figure out your why. And I know that is big.
Yeah.
Figuring out your why. But
Yeah.
if you are a person that you do know that, and I'm gonna tell you, for me, when I step back for self-care, I'm a always going person. And I told you, I heard the Lord tell me self-care. But the first thing that I started doing was saying no, because I would always say yes. Once I did that, this came out of that. Let's talk self-care. Because everybody tell me your voice, it's in your mouth, But I never had time to even sit down and figure any of that out, because I was always going. So my why came out of me stepping back. If you can step back and come out of the opinions and the judgments of everybody else, you'll figure yourself out.
Wow.
That's
So big. Like, real talk. Like, this is hitting home for me more so than y'all may realize, because like, this is me up until pandemic time. Just really saying yes to everybody.
That was me too, though.
It got me to the point where I was constantly dehydrated, getting sick all the time, stressed out. I felt like I was neglecting my kids and my family, and it got to the point where I still haven't actually had the opportunity to say no. The pandemic just happened, so
It forced you.
Yeah, it forced me to really. And I really, like, I mentioned this a while back. I said I was rediscovered myself in 2020. We talked about in one of our podcasts, and it's really kind of seeing what makes me happy, and I'm realizing what I should do for me and what I should do for my family or whatnot. But this is big, like, this is huge for me. So, Willie, you did something right this time. You got a good guest here.
What was?
I
want to go back to that.
What is this?
You did something right this time. Go ahead, Audrey.
What was the question you asked about success? Like,
like, do you really want it? You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I was gonna ask you, like, do you really want to be set? Which everybody say yes, but then I would tell you think twice, because success comes with a
well,
cut.
it reminds me of something that my mother used to tell me when I was little and growing up. And I guess because she saw the type of personality that I had and the way my drive for things. There's a book called Rhinoceros Success, and she's like, "Oh, girl, baby, you're a rhino." And basically, like, it's an interesting book. But basically, like I'll get a goal in mind and I will just charge at it. Nothing else matters. Yeah. Thick skin, bugs don't bother me. Like, I'm just, But she always told me something that I didn't understand until I got more into adulthood, maybe in the last 10 years. But she would say, "Audrey, you are so much more afraid of success than you are of failure." Wow. And I'm like, that it didn't really make sense. Me and another friend of mine who were just very artistic and creative, she was like, y'all are, don't let people misread it. She was like, y'all not afraid of failure, y'all afraid of success. And it didn't make sense, but it was not so much the success, because yes, you do want it, but first of all, you got to know, well, what does success look like for you? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I had to learn was, like, success for me looks like whatever God told me to do. It looks like doing whatever He told me to do, in the way He told me to do it. So the exact same thing that could look like success on me, that exact same thing could be failure for somebody else.
Yeah, that's true.
But then also, it wasn't just figuring out what success is, but I think what my mom was trying to say was, maybe my road to success, she knows how focused I could get and how laser focused I could get, and it could be to my own self-detriment, because, like, if success becomes a string of saying yes, or, like, just get it done at all costs, like, or are you eating enough, Audrey? Did you rest today? So balancing that between, I had my mom saying that, and then my dad, like, if I go to my daddy and see, like, how are you, little lady? I'm gonna say, I'm tired. His first question after that is gonna be, well, have you worked? So finding that balance between earning my right to be tired. Like, I'm not there finna go to my daddy and say, I'm tired and I haven't done anything to earn my tired.
Right.
But then also, it's just, are you afraid to go at it as hard as you could? Because what comes with the success may put a greater demand on you. And I think she saw how much demand I already put on myself. And she saw, like, if you don't, like, she would protect it as much as she could as my mother, but, like, you're going to have to get this right before you leave, because you're going to have that protection around you, because you already put so much pressure on yourself, and don't think that other people won't add to that.
Oh, they will.
And just understanding I had to grow into. So yes, I do want success, but I also, one of my prayers at the beginning of this year was I don't want my prayer life, like, my prayer requests aren't decreasing, but I also, with that, I want the balance to carry everything. It's just like everything things are being added to me that I've always wanted and prayed for, and I'm sure that more will come. But I also need the balance to carry it all, so I don't have to like, dang, does it have to be, I have to drop this thing I really want off for the sake of this thing I also really want? Or is there a formula in which I can carry it all? And I think self-care, learning, like one thing I had to learn is like you have to build the breaks into the work, build the rest into the work. Yeah. You know, because I remember one time my pastor would have us different people teaching, and he would say, well, why don't we just let this one person just teach for like 3 months, or this person teach for, I said, you don't want to do it that way, because what will happen is that person will teach consistently for 3 months or maybe 6 months, but after that it'll be hard getting them to teach again because you'll burn them out. I said what you could do is get 3 people and rotate them, and you could sustain that model for maybe about 3 or 4 years because you're building the rest into the work.
Right.
And I think that was a big thing for me as far as, yes, I still want this success, but I also want to be able to carry it. I had to learn how to build the rest into the work.
That's good.
That was it.
That's
Oh, that was
good.
it.
I like that.
That was the whole
Shout out to
me.
moms.
I'm gonna be real. Yeah, that was fire. But I mean,
My mom is so subtly wise,
and
she just, you have to like, she's like the most subtle like prophet. Like she's great and bubbly and great with kids, but she will drop off the heaviest thing you ever heard and go back to like baking cake.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing.
damn, you're gonna do that to me?
Yeah.
Damn.
But
Right.
you know what?
You're like, wait, what? And she's like, huh? Yes.
I can
Leave
totally
you
relate to that.
stunned.
Like I can relate to that. Like that's pretty much in words what I was trying to say about success. Like I think we are in a sense afraid of failure because even this podcast, I was talking to one of my homies. I was like, listen, I've been like a couple times I almost got burnt out, but I know God called me to do it. I'm like, so it's like Charles May, like Charles is never this available. So you know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
He's
bro,
not.
listen. I'm like, listen. This is like I told my homie, I'm like, the only reason this podcast is still going is because every time I call Charles, he always say yes. So I know this God. Because listen, I'm like, bro, I be hoping sometimes I be tired, I be like, Charles, you available? And Charles be saying yes constantly. And it's like to go back to the things like just embracing what it's gonna cost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Embracing what it is, like because you start to see, and then honestly, I'm at the point now where I'm actually starting to get tough skin, and it's free. Like I mean no ill will. I know people who had ill feelings, and I'm at a place finally. It didn't come easy. You know what I'm saying? Because I seen people acting shady, and I'm like, fam, everything I done did, one no got me this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now, but now I'm to a point where I have no ill will. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm really not, because I'm in a good place mentally. But so it's like that was dope. I think most of us are more afraid of success than failure. If you really think about it like that, that was a whole bar.
That you really are. When I put my my flyer out for my conference, you know, people just start registering.
Plug the conference.
Yeah, you got to plug the
No.
conference. Since you brought it up real
But
quick.
before we get into the conference, like, here's what I would like you to do. End with the conference. And I would like end this statement, but start with what was there something specific for you to be like, I need to make self-care a priority? Was there, like, without being too personal, or like, but what was it? Because everybody's talking about it, but you landed at a conference that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So what was it for you that made self-care as big as it is in your world, to the point that you have enough to share with other people? Like, let's talk about this together.
Well, I'll say this. I am a teenage mother. And I was a teenage mother. My son will be 20 tomorrow.
B.
So, yeah.
Happy birthday, B.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
So from 20 years ago as a teenage mother until now, I have always been responsible for somebody else. I didn't have that time of, so, you know, from 10th grade on, I had to be responsible for someone else, to where I would always put anything dealing with me, I would put it to the side. I would neglect it. If it had anything to do with me, I would neglect it. I would allow myself to, I don't go to the doctor, I don't do this, I don't do that, but as long as they're okay. But it came to a time where, and then let me stop there. Then me and my children's father, we're married. So then I wanted to make sure that my marriage was good. You know, we don't know what we're doing. We were teenage parents. Nobody, you know, we don't have the model. So let's make sure we're good. But in making sure, let's make sure we're good, let me make sure he's good. Who cares if I'm good? Let me just make sure he's good.
Yeah.
And then let me make sure these kids are good. And then I joined the ministry. Okay, well, I don't know what this looks like, but
you
as
preaching
well
that, boy.
as motherhood, I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what being a wife looked like. I don't know what it looked like to be in the ministry, but hey, I want you to serve. Okay, well,
Yeah.
this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Stressed out
So
now.
I have no idea that I can say no, because my no is not no to God. It never changes my relationship with him. So here I am, 20 years later, mother, me and my husband, Lord Jesus, we've been married. Forgive me. But
Long time.
we've been married a long time. No, we've been married 17 years.
All right.
17 years. We've been married.
Hey.
And we separated. We separated for a good point of time for my military career. We separated. Then we got back together. So then here I go. As soon as we get back together, I join the church. And now everything is being pulled. Mother, wife, job, ministry. mother, wife. So it's like, okay, I'm going to make sure all of that stuff gets done. And then here go the Lord telling me to be a business owner. Yeah. Okay, so mother, wife, ministry leader, business owner, job. Okay, so all of this, and I'm thinking I'm doing it right. Okay, headaches, high blood pressure, weight gain, bills, marriage, getting into, we're having issues in the marriage because I'm spending more time here. We have my children. My son is not doing good in school because I'm here. My job performance has never lacked, but I can't give my clients 100% because it's over here. So once I got to the point, and I know it wasn't me that got me there. God got me there.
That's fair.
And he said, enough. And it was last year. He said self-care. And I was actually walking around the track because I had the mindset of, self-care is I'm going to start going to get massages. I'm going to get, making sure I get pedicures.
Yeah.
That's self-maintenance, which it can go into self-care, but that's maintenance because after you get your nails done and you get the massage, if you're depressed, you just massage your depression and you're going right back. You're pretty up. Exactly. That is self-maintenance. So my self-care, when I was walking around the track and I heard it and I said, okay. And I spoke to somebody and she told me something about herself. And I said, it's funny you said that because I wrote in my notes self-care. And this was in October of last year. I wrote in my notes self-care. And as the time went along, he's been showing me what to do because I always felt bad about saying no. I always felt bad about taking some time for myself. But what I really did figure out was I always get my nails done. I make sure we have, money and things like that, but everything has begun to line up. Yes, there's been bills, but it looks a little bit different now because I'm able to really budget the way I need to because I'm not saying yes when you call me and ask me to borrow $50.
That's a fact.
Yeah, so
I appreciate. Oh yeah, don't forget to plug your since we had it.
Well, yeah.
Go and tell the people.
Well, what I was saying is I'm having a conference, Let's Talk Self-Care, May 15th. The registration is online, or you can go to my website, www.purposefulplanning.com. But what I was going to say is when I was planning my conference and people just started registering, I was like, oh my gosh, did I not expect them to register? So the afraid of success versus failure, because if they had not registered, I guess I could have been like, well, I tried it. But people are registering, men and women, couples are registering together. And it's almost like, now I'm looking at it like, okay, I have to produce, but it's in a different way. I don't have the stress on me of I have to produce because in my self-care, I know who I am. I know that I'm living self-care right now. Am I 100%? No, but he's showing me every day what I need to do so that when those people come, even my panel, and this is crazy. I had people saying they can speak, people around me. I have great people around me that can speak. No, y'all need self-care too. Mm-hmm. And the people that are on my panel are handpicked because it's funny. I don't even know half of them. That's the thing. I don't need you, if we close up together, to be on my panel speaking because for one, everyone would expect that to be. But I know your struggles and you know mine. I need you to come be poured into that day as well. So he had me handpick all of the people that are supposed to come, and the people that are supposed to come, they generally charge. They're people who that people pay them to do this. They come in, and they don't even know me, so that's how I know God is in this, because when I'm calling them and reaching out to them, they don't know me, I don't know them, but they're totally on board. So I mean, I'm excited for it. I do not like talking in front of crowds, but I'm gonna have to get over it.
Yeah,
you good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get over it. But it's needed. And I had a young lady. She said, before I released the conference, we had talked about it. She said, when are you going to do your conference? Because I really need it, because I'm over here being wife and mother, and I just let myself go. As soon as she said that, I was like, it's time. It's time, because this is the third person that I keep hearing saying that they have let their self go. But more so, even in the conference, it is to see, will people take the time out to even come take some time for their self?
Yeah.
Are you that busy that you won't even take time out for yourself, when in the title says self-care? So are you just that busy that you don't have time to come take for yourself? So I'm really excited. One of the young ladies that worked with me, her son was killed on River Street New Year's Eve. And so God told me to give her a ticket. And a few of the ladies on my job registered, but I said, well, the Lord told me to give her a ticket. And they said she needs it. They said she called me. She said, it's so funny because I screenshot your event and I sent it to some people and asked them, did they want to come? And I said, but your ticket is gifted to you and she said, I need to be there. I don't know what's going to be said to me. I don't know, what it's even about. She was just like, I need to be there.
I mean, I'm glad you said, like, because you feel like God told you self-care. And to me, just from listening and all y'all good definition, to me, to truly have self-care it's tied in with identity, with knowing yourself. Like you say, your version of success is doing what God told you to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? In order to do that, you gotta, you gotta be locked into that. So it ties into identity as like freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody who really walking in self-care is walking in freedom. You know what I'm saying? Because they got their limits, they got their boundaries. You know what I'm saying?
Big word.
Boundaries. They living life like on their terms, not what everybody says it should be. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. If
so it's like,
can't.
and I do what I'm saying. I highly recommend the self-care joint for any Android users in my listeners.
So I have a real something that's not petty. I think one of the big things that a sentence that I have to keep reminding myself, and it's simple and you hear it around, but it really is true. You have to kind of break the mentality that self-care is selfish, and it's not.
That's dope.
So I had to Audrey, self-care is not selfish. But what I would like you to do is go back to something you said, because I find myself, and I have a unique brand of motherhood, but encouraging mothers. And one thing I say is listen, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around, but you are still the most important person in your own life. So I would like you to speak directly to self-care as it relates to motherhood, because you have a 20-year-old in a minute.
Yes.
And so you've seen it from a newborn standpoint, from an adolescence, the teenager, and I know personally some friends of mine who are mothers, and I've seen some of them balance very well. I have one that I tell her, I got a standing that I will kidnap you and leave a ransom note for your husband and children. I will, I'll cover it just to take her away. But then I've also seen some people completely lose themselves into their children. And that can be very difficult for a mother to wrap her head around. I'm still the most important person, because if I am not good, then, and if I am how they're good, if I'm not good, how can they be good? So if you could just speak directly to self-care for mothers.
That's
encourage some mothers right now.
I think, even and mine is kind of twofold, because I was a teenage mother. I had a lot of help along the way. So when I went to the military, my son and my daughter, they were not with me. And halfway through, when I got out the military, then we were, but it was a struggle for me. And so I used to beat myself up to make sure they had whatever I had to do, because I didn't know who I was. And I also had the guilt of teenage mother, leaving the child. Did I neglect them? Did I this? I had that guilt. But once I understood who I was, I knew how to balance being mom, but also balance being Tanya. And people would tell me it is selfish. And when it says self-care, I mean, and it's kind of self-explanatory, y'all. It's really not selfish, but you have to focus on you. And once and it wasn't long ago. Sorry, y'all. My son is 20, but it wasn't long ago. Once I got the understanding of who I was, and I am mother. I'm doing the best that I can. They've always had the best. But I am Tanya. But sometimes I have to say no, and I still struggle with that with my daughter. That's my shadow. I struggle with saying no to her. But once I got the understanding of who I was, it was much easier for me. I don't have to give them everything. As a mother, you don't have to give your child everything, because if you give them the life principles, because one thing I'm learning with my son, as him being 20, them Jordans that he got when he was 14, he probably can't wear. But everything that I've taught him and the time and the principles that I've shown him makes him who he is. So I had to balance that out, and I think a lot of mothers sometimes think they have to overgive their children, but it also does something for them. When they can give their kids everything, it does something for them. Something's not settled that you think you have to give your child everything.
Is it almost rooted in feeling like they have something to prove to even themselves? Is that
even
what
that,
is?
and also I'm trying to live what I didn't have through my child. So if and I hear this all the time. I don't want them to have the life that I had, or I didn't have those things growing up, so I'm gonna make sure my child has it. I was that parent, but I'm not anymore, because the world we live in now, you can't take that same approach, because I might not have had all of the name brand things growing up, but I had the life lessons. And when my father left this world, I'm a hustler. I can maneuver this world like none other. So I need them to know that just because you don't have everything to give your child, give them the stuff that you can, and help them to also know who they are, so they don't fall into this. And I'm going to go right back into self-care. They don't fall into this society of people telling them what they should be doing. With your self-care, the reason that this goes back to your question, the reason why is because you're still trying to figure out what people are telling you should do. When you figure out what it is you should be doing, and not let people tell you what you should be doing, and then you'll be able to know, okay, I'm in self-care now.
You are really good at this.
Yeah. No.
That was a dope question, because like a mother's love is different. Don't get me wrong. A father, I can say that same thing from a man's point of view, which I am. But I want to follow up what y'all was saying, because as a mama's boy, I know a mother's love is different. I know my daddy loved me. God bless his dad. But mama will run through walls for me, and I knew that. And it's like I see that in my wife. So it's like what you talking about. I see, like, she will literally go slap food. Like I'm the one. Gotta say, because I'm not about to go crazy for them kids. I'm be like, listen.
That's a man. That's my husband all day.
But she will. So
yes.
And I, like, every man is different, man. And see, what I tell Kendra now, I learned. It's gonna sound weird, but I learned to lead her in silence, like kind of like almost wax on, wax off type deal. It's like I'm leading, but you don't realize I'm leading. You know what I'm saying? It's like I noticed that same thing. And I would like do certain things. Like I would like be like go whatever, you know what I'm saying? I keep the kids for a little while, so she can like make her have her special, because she would go the same way. You can see it. Like, she always bring the old stories. When I was little, I was like, baby, we ain't, you know what I'm saying? And so a mother's love is, I don't understand women, never will. Never.
Wow.
But that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? I can't speak from a woman's point of view, but I do. I have seen
what you got on it.
I have seen that, but from a man, it's stressful too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, self-care for a man, because a real man, and a real man, how I define a real man, like
selfless.
Like, if this whole thing fall down, even though we ain't together, it's on me.
But we have to tear that down, because black men also do not think self-care is for them. That's a fact. And that's why I keep telling people the guest speaker that I'm releasing today is a man. So I was adamant there will be men speakers, because it's for men and women. But men do not. They think self-care is nails, makeup. That's not it. That might be what is her self-care. Yeah. But what is it for you? And as as with everything that's going on in society, we definitely need the black men to understand that self-care is okay, because a lot of times the reason why our men have such aggression and things is because you don't take the time out to focus on yourself. You put that weight on yourself of, I have to be this, and that, because that's who society told you that you had to be. But if you step back, as I was just telling him, and you figure out my why, and I take off what the judgments and what everyone is telling me I should be and should do, then you'll be able to focus on that self-care. And I think it has become so branded that it's a beauty thing. And that's not what it is.
That's a really good point.
That is true.
Wow.
That's a really great point.
Because every time you hear self-care, it's going out.
It's either like massages, nails, hair,
Yeah.
or they're like wine.
Yeah.
And a binge.
Yeah.
They tried to beautify it when
Yeah.
really, if you want to think about it, it's that deep thing. It really, the beautifying it is to make it look glamorous, but it can be lonely, because when you say no and create boundaries,
Yeah.
everybody does not like that.
And we see with true colors.
That's too real. Like that, I promise you, I'm living this right now.
Yeah.
That's too real. I think the biggest thing that you're saying is finding who you want to be aside from others, other folks' expectations and judgments. That's too real. But I have a question for Willie. Willie, how do you self-care as a black man? Because
He drives.
He drives.
But you also drive for work, so you got to get something else that don't look
I
like
don't drive
work.
for work no more.
Oh,
I'm in a building all day.
let me find out.
That's a tough
See
thing.
how out of
Like,
the loop I've been?
yeah, that's a tough thing. Like as men, as husbands, as fathers, we feel like our job is to protect
Everything.
and we shoulder everything. And
Well, at least in our minds, we showed everything.
right,
That's
right, right.
that's that
At
problem
least,
right there.
at least in our minds.
My husband carries everything up here, and you can see you carrying everything up here. But what do you do for your overall to be the best you? What do you do for that happiness? What do you do for that release?
You know what's interesting? I had a client of mine. It's a man, and he asked me. No, he didn't frame it in the word self-care, but it was more like, why are you shaking your head?
No, I'm just like,
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, because
Yeah.
he was asking like, as far as like, do I meditate and how do I meditate? And so we were talking about like what meditation looks like. And here's what I've learned from me, and I was able to, I think, help him. It was uniquely because it was not uniquely because it was a man, but I think it may help men. For me, sometimes the whole thing of like I need to meditate, or that idea of, or how it's been branded. If you're already stressed out and you already got a million things doing, a million irons in the fire, then meditation just can come across as one more thing I got to add to my plate. So one thing that I had to learn with myself, and I was able to kind of coach him through, was there's something you're probably already doing that qualifies as meditation. You just have to put some intention around it. For example, I just know, like, if you just naturally just take a drive, like he would naturally just take, when he was leaving work, he would actually take a longer way home or take different routes home. I was like, okay, so don't try to find extra hours in the day. Take that time and commit to putting some more intention. I'm not answering any phone calls, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not turning on any music. I'm just going to sit and drive. Or like for me, I get a lot of meditation done in the shower because nobody's disturbing it. I said, so find something that you're already doing. And what happens is when you put more intention around it is other people will start to respect that time. For example, like with his wife, I said, if your wife knows that your drive home is a mental decompression, then what happens is you kind of teach her that that's that time, and so she won't call you during that time. Or if she does, you know how important it is because you have put a boundary around that time. I said, so one thing I had to learn to do was find something you're already doing that could qualify, because meditation is going to look different depending on what, like if you run a yoga studio, yoga probably isn't very meditative for you as far as an outside of work self-care. You know, or if you drive for a living, then going for a drive may just be too reminiscent of work. So what is it that you already do that you find yourself, like I find myself sitting in my car when I get home from work. I don't go immediately in the house. I'm like, I got to get this work off me before I go into my house. And so I sit there and maybe answer any like social media message or anything like that. And I close that out. And then I go into my house and I put my phone down. But once I realized that I was naturally doing that, like I would just naturally sit in the car for a few minutes before going in, I was like, okay, let me just put some intention around this time. So then my question kind of goes back to what Dave. So what do you do, or what is it that you feel like you already do that you could say, well, this could count as meditation?
Drive.
As a man.
Driving is a big.
So, you know what I'm saying? You ain't going to the salon. Like, the barbershop is a lot of therapy happens
the
there.
barbershop is therapeutic.
But then that's also, like, group therapy. What about that, like, on your own?
I'm gonna be real. Like I'm gonna be like I do play PS4. Like that's a real thing for me. Like maybe whenever I go to play PS4, it's like an event. All right, everybody, you know what I'm saying? With everybody sleep, I just gotta get away because I'm a thinker. You know what I'm saying? I literally think for fun. You know what I'm saying? I do that. So it's like at the end of a work day, I don't work like my old lady knows it's a time like after I get home, I do what I gotta do. But like after I get home and go to the gym, like right after I leave the gym, that hour right there, I'm pretty much like, I need that hour.
I call that Miranda time.
Miranda time?
Because you have the right to remain silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
That's
during
real.
that time, it's
it.
not anything you use
I
or
love
say can be used against you. So you need your Miranda time.
That's so great.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's facts. But I
love
mean,
it.
to me, like, just listening to everybody's, like, if I had to define self-care, my definition, Willie's definition would be the freedom from other people's expectations of you.
Oof.
Yeah.
That would be my, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was like, cause like,
Yep.
truthfully, that's only like, if everybody lived like that, if everybody lived that self-care life, it was like, even though you might say no, even though you might say no, it's better for you. Cause like, let's say I ask you to come on the podcast and you tell me no. You know what I'm saying? I gotta respect you for that, and you made it easier for me. You know what I'm saying? No, like I can work with a no. I can't work with a maybe. No or yes, in between.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
that
saying?
indecisiveness.
And it's like, yeah, so it's like, really, they may not like it, but you helping them out. Can you do this? No, I can't. They may not like it, but at least they know for sure. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no false expectations, and it's really the best way. It's really a free life. It's an honest life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
David, what do you do?
I don't know.
Or what can you do? Like, where...
I'm
What little pockets of time do you find yourself naturally taking for yourself?
I've been thinking
You
this
gonna
whole
start shooting
time.
40?
I can't. I don't know. I don't know that I have.
Go to the gun range. I do that too.
Yeah.
I've
go to
never
the
been.
gun.
Honestly, I feel like
Oh yes.
I put myself so much into my family. Like that's therapeutic time for me, but I never consider that as self-care necessarily. I mean, that's just I don't know. I don't know.
You know, another thing with self-care, sometimes you don't need a break from everything, but you need a break from some things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it can be a little hard, but you have to identify what those things are that you do need a break from. Because when I say it can be hard, sometimes it may be your children. I mean, so it could be hard,
listen,
but
boy,
once
that's
you do, it's always it could tear you because you love a thing, but it can also be a stressor for you. So you just have to limit it and spurt some stuff. And
But don't you find when you do that, it's better for you and the thing?
Yeah.
When you come back.
Really
Like, for
is.
example, I used to tell, one thing I used to coach, like mentor other managers under me. I was like, listen, they would come to me straight. I was like, listen, don't quit your job because you need a vacation. You love your job. And right now you're ready to throw the whole thing away. And I get it. But don't quit your job because you need a vacation. Take the vacation. If you come back from a vacation, you're well rested. For the job I have now, I really enjoy it. So when I'm excited, I'm glad to come back after I have I need my vacation, but I'm glad to come back and see my team, my girls in my store. But if I've gone on some vacations and come back, I'm like, 2 weeks notice. You know?
Yeah.
But like sometimes you need to take a minute to know, because if you can make a permanent decision in a really temporary moment. And so like seriously, like don't quit. Like even in ministry.
Oh, that's a big one.
Don't quit your job because you need a vacation. Maybe just sit down and let somebody else preach. Every once in a while. Or maybe let somebody else usher. You know, or is there more than one musician in the house?
Yeah.
And that's big
but
for
I'm just
ministry.
saying, I've seen it in ministry, and I've seen the burnout that can come from, I've seen people say no to marriage and yes to ministry. I've seen people say no
Far
to
too
kids and
often.
yes to ministry.
That's a
Yeah.
big one.
And
That's
and
true.
so
That's a big one.
and so it's almost like, why are you surprised that you're burnt out in this one area because you gave all your yeses to this one area? And so go and maybe just spread your yeses around and so ministry gets some no's. But I promise you, the people you serve are better for the people I lead are better for my vacations.
And that's good. Even
My
with the
store is
ministry.
better for my vacation.
Because if you think about with ministry, a lot of people they have full-time jobs. They have families.
Yeah.
some of them are business owners, and then you have also with ministry. Sometimes I'll just be for myself. My pastor said, "Well, we know you don't work on Fridays." I don't even do much work on my own job on Fridays. So Fridays, my husband gets off at 10. I've learned in this pandemic that he needs as much as my time, as I have to balance that thing out, because I can't have all my time over here, and then when I do have free time, I have clients. So then my marriage goes lacking. But
go ahead. Go.
But one thing about it is, most of us that do serve in ministry is not our job. So when it's not your job, say for instance, my work schedule is 6:30 to 3:30. I get off at 3:30. And if I have to go serve in ministry, 7 days a week, that means that I didn't have any time for either my kids. Something went neglected. And also, even in that, my mind, I tell people all the time, because I'm a heavy planner.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, you have to know the times of your mind. I do know that I get up at 6:30, but even if I'm in the building or I'm at home, I go get breakfast. I don't start working until about 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so, and my supervisor, they know this. I arrive at 6:30. But don't come to my office. I'm gonna walk to the cafeteria. If I was in the building now, it's a little different. I may get up a little later, but I'm accessible if they need me. But my mind time, it starts at 8. My mind knows by 6 o'clock we on the off ramp. And because most of my life I've worked at 8 to 5, that I don't do nights and weekends. I'm not an old cell phone plan. I ain't did that in years. But my mind, so you're not gonna get the best out of me after that time. And because I know that I can't produce my best after that time, it sometimes becomes a stressor for me, because I feel like I'm trying to produce something that I can't, because I've already produced all of these hours all day. So I had to learn to say no sometimes. But what I did do with me being a planner, I put some things in place to where I can in my day. But Friday and mostly Saturday was used to be event days. But my husband, we like to get up. We like to go to Sam's early on Saturday morning. We go to Walmart. We here and there. And my husband, he races. So I know Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, he's somewhere racing. But that morning time, that is time for my husband. I'm not planning anything, and I did. So it would be, okay, I've planned something and I'm away from him. We never have no time together. So now my Saturdays are triggered towards my husband. I had to plan that time in there because he works Monday through Friday. Saturday mornings, we do our thing. We go eat breakfast. We're up early. And we take care of what we need to take care of. And then I have that balance time that if I want to do something, or some days I just want to sit in my recliner and eat grapes and just
don't feel bad
fall
about
asleep
it.
with my door open.
And don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, want to look out my storm door and just see who walking past and you just do nothing.
Just chill, yeah.
I found lately that I like doing that more so. It's not deep. You don't got to spend a bunch of money.
Right.
You don't got to do everything. I just want to sit in my recliner, look out the door, watch something on Netflix. I'm into all these series.
Yeah.
There's a new one out called Who Killed Sarah. Y'all catch that one. But it's amazing. But I like to do that. And this pandemic really helped me to find me. I don't care what nobody say. It helped me find me.
I think it helped find everybody. I
Yeah.
think that's a common. I mean, and it all sounds like freedom from people's expectations, because it's like, even with ministry, like, of course, either way, like, you gotta have a strategy or it will drive you crazy.
Yeah.
It's like the whole point of ministry, even though, especially when you're a leader, it's a lot, but the whole point of it is to get people to Christ. The whole point is to have a one-on-one walk with Christ. But it's like, I lost my train of thought. I ain't gonna lie. I was thinking two things at once. Anything. Okay, we got the plug. What you saying?
Give us the dates again for that.
It's May 15th, 10 a.m. Let's Talk Self-Care. It's going to be at Crosswinds. The ticket price is $65. We are almost to capacity.
That's great.
Yeah, I can take more, but I don't want it to be big. It is a brunch. So breakfast is provided. It's going to be swag bags. We do have vendors. We're going to have raffles and giveaways. We have, so far, I can tell you that we have Victoria Baylor. She's going to be speaking. We have Jenna Weinstein. She is a mindset and a personal trainer. We have James Smith, my brother-in-law. Shout out to him. He is a new author.
Shout out 1969.
Yeah, so we have him. He's going to be a speaker. We also have the speaker that I am going to release today. His name is Justin West. He also has a men's.
Oh, that's the trainer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he also has I'm not going to tell everything about him.
No, you good. Go
But
ahead. Keep
but
the
yeah,
secrets.
so
Keep the secrets.
And then my keynote speaker is LaWanda Law. And she has released to me what she is sharing, and the Lord connected those two words, because what she's gonna release, if you don't have that portion, self-care does not matter, because you will always revert back to what somebody says you should be, thinks you should be, tells you that
And
you
that's
should
what they
be.
keep going back to. It's
I
like
mean,
freedom
I have a
from
question.
expectation.
Is the event virtual or in person?
It's in person.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
Okay.
it's in
I
person.
wanted to make that clear because we still kind of.
Yes. So it is in person, and I did limit my seating to 50 people, because I want it to be still social distance, and I want people to be able to have that personal experience.
Yeah.
This is just the first one from the Let's Talk brand. So yeah.
And that is everything. I do remember what I was gonna say. Like, but basically about self-care being, to me, it just sounds like freedom of expectation. Because as Christians, as believers, we supposed to be this. We're supposed to look like this. We're supposed to talk like this. As women, you're supposed to do this. As men, you're supposed to be this. And it's like all that you're supposed to. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you know what I'm saying? You love Jesus, so why you this, that, all these expectations, like being free. Okay, cutting out all the noise, all the extra voices, and say, "Well, all right, my part of that." God, what you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like getting
It's
to
like
know
that
self.
line from was it Endgame? I'm such a Marvel junkie.
Oh, I love Endgame. Which one?
But when Frigga, Thor's mother, was like, "You'll always fail at who you're supposed to be. You'll succeed at who you are," or something like that.
That's good.
It wasn't
That's
exactly,
real
but
good.
that's what I took away
Well,
from
Marvel
it.
got
But
the best quotes.
listen,
Y'all seen the DC joint? Y'all seen?
not yet.
Yeah, I
Bro,
thought
I'm gonna be real.
Not
I had to
yet.
split it in
I'm
half.
gonna be real.
I'm gonna see it next week.
Like DC was slipping up until now. Like
Oh, I
right
gotta check it
now,
out,
they
'cause-
banging with. They hit Marvel in the head with this
That's
one.
a bit. That's
well.
a bit drastic.
That's it. I'll give it a minute.
Bro,
But
it
I do
was
have
good,
something.
but it
I had
wasn't-
something I wanted to
They're still here.
Did you watch it?
I watched it.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Come on, see, I trust David.
Marvel.
But you don't, I said it was good.
I'll watch
Marvel
it.
is
But
still
Marvel,
here. DC, that was a big, yeah.
See what I'm
I
saying?
mean-
See,
Aquaman, and then this Zack Snyder's cut of
I'm
Justice
gonna watch
League.
we
it.
gotta get on the same page as a team. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all always agreeing. He
Not
always take Oscar back. You know what I'm saying? They leave me out here to dry. It's all good, man. Look, we done had
Pretty
a man.
much.
Listen, we done had a dope conversation.
I want to
It's
add
like,
one more thing because you said something early, and it's it could be a whole different conversation, but you did mention anxiety earlier,
cool.
and you know, sometimes I think people wait until anxiety levels get really, really high before they even, like, again, build self-care into life. But one of the things I think is just more of a statement to get off my chest. One of the things that a little bothers me a little bit is when you take these real life concepts and put them into the social media space and they start to trend and become just a popularity thing instead of like a real life application.
thing, yeah.
My concern with anxiety is because everybody, it's almost like anxiety is a buzzword.
It is.
And it bothers me because levels of anxiety are part of the human experience for every human. And so if you blow up and magnify every anxiety moment you have, it makes it harder to know if you have an unhealthy level of anxiety.
That's good.
You get what I'm saying? Because I had a close friend of mine. He's very even tempered. He might spike high or low, but when he called me, he said, "This is making me anxious." And I'm like, I get it. We don't need medicine for it. It is a part of the human experience, and I understand the circumstances that you're in. I understand why this is making you feel like this way. But if we not glorify, but if we magnified every anxiety moment, it's hard to tell when people have heightened levels that need maybe medical attention.
Yeah.
And so I just would like people to kind of maybe really use self-care as a means to understand maybe what your normal levels of anxiety are. Do you know, like, does everything trigger you? Or maybe you just had a stressful day and you want to be like, oh my God, my anxiety is like, I think we made anxiety a really big thing that we can't tell who needs real help with it, or it's just like, you're a human, and this is part of the human experience to have these different emotional levels.
Yeah.
Or it's the same thing with depression. Like, I can recognize when I'm having a depressing moment, but I am not, like, I don't need medication for depression. And I think sometimes if we can't tell, because so many people have put their life into a tech space, you forget what real humanity feels like. Like, you know what? There are highs and lows. Anxiety is part of human experience. Right. There are certain things that are depressing. That does not mean that you have to just take on depression and wallow in it to the point of now maybe you're medicating something that just could be treated with regular self-care. Right. And now the medicine is causing adverse side effects. And it's just a real concern for me, especially when it's put in on children.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's crazy.
I just need to get that off my chest.
Audrey is the one that takes us from I-16. Yeah. Now we're on 95.
Well, no, she said something key.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
She said take on. When she said you don't have to take it on. A lot of people do not know when they need times of self-care for them, and they just really need to kind of like distance themselves from people because you've took on everybody else's stuff that has nothing to do with you, and now you have no idea who you are because I'm so bogged down in your life and your stuff that everything over here is neglected for me.
That sounds like social media.
Yeah, you will take on stuff you have no business, and now you depressed, and you say self-care don't work.
Because depression is trending now. Well, maybe it's almost like being a mental or emotional hypochondriac. It's just like, oh my gosh, so like everybody's talking about anxiety. Well, maybe my anxiety, and then you start to take on that vernacular, and you start talking about yourself that way. And it's just like, well, maybe you don't have anxiety. Maybe you just saw a bunch of posts about anxiety.
Exactly.
And now you're imposing that upon yourself. It's just like, just get off social media. Maybe the anxiety will go away with the source is social media.
Right.
Social media.
Get rid of the source. Maybe. I'm not here to bash social media because I do very well.
I love social media.
But you do have. It's almost like you have to look at it as like a club or a restaurant or a lounge that you hang out. It's just like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to go this weekend. Like, look at social media as a real place that you visit.
Good.
That's real.
I started doing that years ago. I was like, let me go see what they're doing. Let me swing by Facebook.
I had to do that with Clubhouse.
Swing by Facebook. Pull up on Twitter.
I had to do that with Clubhouse.
But that's what
Clubhouse every day anymore.
Because there are hangouts. You know, and like Instagram, like I don't really hang out at Twitter. Like, so it might be it's a pop off, like it's a popular joint for some people. I just don't.
Me either.
I might go by and swing by every once in a while.
That is a
see
good
what the
way to
scene
look
is
at it.
on. Okay, all right, and I hang out and I leave, and I'm at the end of the day, I'm gonna end up, at the Waffle House, Instagram, like, you know what I'm saying. But
that's real,
I look at it as
like
really
that.
destinations that I visit.
That's good.
But that's how I have to compartmentalize.
I'm gonna pull up on Instagram later on tonight.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I like that. I like that.
No, that's fire. That's a bar.
Yeah.
That's a bar. Before we do, I do want you to touch on this one. It just came to my mind. Self-care pertaining to your friends, your circle. We're gonna let that. We're gonna end on that little convo. We're gonna end on that convo. Like self-care with the people you surround yourself, your friends, and whatever you choose.
Now I'm only speaking
for you,
from my standpoint.
For your standpoint.
But what I have noticed is once I focused on my self-care, everybody started to look different. Mm-hmm. Some look different in a good way, some look different in a bad way. And what I noticed is, it goes back to that take on. I had took on my friends' problems. Like, I don't know this person, so I have no business just not ever speaking to them because you don't. So it was causing stress for me to even be around the person when it had nothing to do with me. It was my relationship. But also, I've noticed that recently I was more of a friend to some people than they were to me.
Ooh, that's a hard
This is
pill
a
to
hard
swallow,
lesson.
boy.
This
That's
is a
pill to
hard
swallow.
lesson to learn. It is, and you love people. No ill feels, but sometimes you just have to say, you have to compartmentalize. I gotta put you over here. Gotta put you over here. I gotta put you over here, because where I'm at right now, if I go back to that where you were, it's gonna cause me stress.
That's
I can't.
good. I like
Anything
that.
that's causing me stress right now, I'm shelving it. Not saying that you can't ever get off the shelf, but you can't come off the shelf until I'm good.
Yeah.
When I get good, I can take you off the shelf because now I know how to deal with it. But while I don't know how to deal with it, I have to shelf you, because I'll never get to that level of fully being me, fully walking into my self-care. And me shelving you is my self-care. Now, if you got a problem with it, that's not my burden to take on.
It ain't really. That's facts.
It's not my burden. I have to shelf you and those relationships. So when you focus on you, you'll see who is and who's not.
All right, David. David, what you cause I want everybody to add a little bit. How you feel about self-care and pertaining to your friends, like the people you choose to be around, as a husband, as a man, and as you?
Honestly, like what she just said, seeing people you see them differently, and circles get real small when you start seeing them. I get like, when I get texts from certain people, I'm like, all right, what do you want? Because you're not just checking up on me. You don't do that, because our relationship is hinged on what I say yes to. So when you text me, and I'm like, all right, what angle are we coming from right now? But it gets, like you said earlier, it gets lonely actually, and you see people for who they really are, and I'm fine with that. At least I know where you stand. So
And it's peaceful.
yeah, it is.
It is very peaceful.
It's peaceful.
So once you start telling them no, like they
You
slowly
like, fam,
disappear.
I got a lot more money lately.
Yeah.
I've been saying no.
Yeah.
I've been getting good.
And a lot more peace.
What about you, Ms. Audrey? Please keep it within the
Audrina.
boundaries of 95 and 16.
What's the question? What's the question?
Okay, pertaining to self-care and all that, like, how do you implement self-care, whatever around, like, how do you basically manage your circle? You know what I'm saying?
My inner circle is really pretty good. I'm fortunate, and I like, it wasn't always this way. I attribute it to God and wisdom on how to deal with relationships, but for the most part, my inner circle is pretty. We have just an understanding with each other. We can not say fall in and out, but like as far as communication, we can not talk for 2 weeks and pick right back up or talk. Like, I'm fortunate in that way. I have had some people that I had to recognize. First of all, I had to go back to that. This is not being selfish. This relationship is one-sided, and they're benefiting more than I am, and this is draining me. And then I have a close friend of mine who, and I just take a cue from him, is really phenomenal to watch. He kind of budgets his emotional energy like money. Like, he'll talk about something and be like, all right, that's all I'm giving to that. You know, and so then when you start to look at it like, well, this is how much I have in my budget, my energy budget for this or this. Then sometimes when you do that enough, then you maybe have a little surplus. And like, you know what? I know if I answer this person's phone call, I love them. But I know the phone call isn't going to be no less than 45 minutes. If I don't have it, I won't answer.
Yeah.
If I am chilling and it really is like I really am just kind of chilling, I don't mind, I'll answer the call. But I check my account to see if my account can cover the cost of that conversation.
I'm still in that.
Or can my energy account cover the cost of answering this call, or even maintaining regular fellowship with this person.
Yeah.
Because like you have to recognize that this is draining, or maybe it's not draining. Or like this comes with no less than 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Do you have that to give if you answer this phone? And once I had to realize, like, I don't. Sometimes if I got 2 hours in the budget, I can give you 45 minutes, and maybe we can go over a little bit. But if I know that I got this, I cannot say, like, you know what? I can't take your call right now. And
That's it.
It's no. If those relationships are true, then that won't put really a strain on it. Or if that person needs, because usually it's just a regular kind of, I want to hang out and talk. And that's fine, but if it's really that important, that boundary's been set up so strong over the course of time that if it's really important, they'll text, hey, real quick, answer this for me. Or can I call you really quick? I won't take up your, like, you could just say, hey, I'm doing this. I think it's just been a progression over time, because at one point I did overextend myself. I love conversation. I could talk all day, obviously. But you had to realize which conversations are fueling me and which ones are just like ciphering energy out of me. And then once you could recognize that, then the decision is on you. Like, are you gonna, like, you can't blame that person anymore, because people want to cut off people. Like, I'm cutting out. Like, if you got to cut off all these many people, then maybe
it's you the problem.
Yeah.
You know, but so it's not, when you do that self-care, it's not selfish, but it's also, you got to be careful, because that you can start get a negative feeling about that conversation with that person, and then you can start to subconsciously blame that person for you being exhausted, and that's not fair to them, because they're just probably being them.
Yeah.
And they're also doing what you've allowed. So once
That's
you
true.
change, you kind of can't get upset if your circle shrinks, because, well, you changed. They didn't change. You changed too, in a way that was positive for you. And so, like, I had a conversation with somebody. I was like, you got to remember, the last time you dealt with them, like, you've kind of leveled up a couple of levels professionally. And so you kind of can't get mad when they still trying to, like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Yo, they trying to, like, homeboy talk this business venture that you're trying to do. So kind of cut them a break, because the last thing you did with them, it was on that level.
That's real.
That's true.
But you've leveled up, so, like, understand that that's where they are, but don't hold it against them. Just
real.
recognize that y'all in different spaces now. And so those kind of, self-awareness is just big.
It really is.
And
I got one last thing to say.
Oh, the nuggets are flowing today.
This is my last thing.
No, I like it. I like
It's
it.
about boundaries. You have to let people know your boundaries. And boundaries is like a cuss word, because people think you're trying to keep me out, or you're trying to do something. But what I actually am telling you is what I will allow and what I will not allow. And people have to stop getting offended at boundaries. And I recently
super sensitive
on Facebook my boundaries, and people didn't want to follow those, but they had to see. I do not like talking on my phone.
Yeah.
I have a certain group of people that I just pick up and we can go for hours.
Yeah.
But if you're not in that group, I have the right to tell you, which I did put my boundaries out there.
Yeah.
We're not text me. And if I deem it important enough, I will call you. Period. Secondly, don't ever just come to my house. That's a boundary.
That's a.
You can't ever just come to someone's house. I don't care what that's like. You don't do that anymore.
You about to get shot.
Yeah, this is not yet. Just don't ever come to my house. What another thing that I put out is, like, I'm really an introvert. I'm a cross between the two. I will talk. I got most talking in my high school. So yeah, I'll talk all day. But there's times, and I have this where I like to sit by myself, and my mind is going. I'm planning. I'm doing something. Let me have my time. I get to determine if I'm introvert today or extrovert. And I'll let you know. So you have to establish those boundaries for people, because if you don't create boundaries for people, you'll find yourself in their box.
Yeah.
And then you can't get out.
You playing by their rules. I mean,
Yes.
That's crazy. Like I think subconsciously I create boundaries, and I remember Christina Temple. Shout out to Christina. She gave me this same concept, boundaries, with, like, we do things with teenagers, kids, we mentor, and I let my boundaries up in one particular instance, and oh my goodness, I didn't know I was like I didn't know I had empath kind of vibes. I didn't realize that until this instant. And I went home after this situation, and I boo-hoo cried, like, all night. And my wife was like, "What's going on?" Like, so I think subconsciously, I said, "All right, I can't put myself in that situation again." So subconsciously, I just started cutting people off and situations off, and, like, stopped answering my phone, text messages. So I feel like it's almost like a defensive mechanism that we have built in to create those boundaries, but that's a good thing. I wish I had that prior to this incident.
But you bring up a good point. When you set the boundary, then you also need to respect your own boundary that you set.
Don't open the door. If it's a boundary, you can't cut a little door right here, because then you don't.
It's almost like having a savings account. You keep, like the mama said, you keep dipping into it. Then you gotta.
You want to gotta
set, so, like, you set this account to save, so you have to respect what you set up as well.
Have some self-discipline, yeah.
I'm
love it.
still in this. That
I'm still-
that
I'm still in-
bank- that-
I'm still in a bunch of bars.
I'm still in that.
I'm still in a bunch of bars, man.
This
well,
is good.
Yeah.
well, Kodak, we
This
is
was great
we,
self-care for me.
we is reaching Kodak boundary time. But no, dang, I enjoyed it. But before we do, even though she do got an Android, we do got to mention that Miss Audrey is about to release her book.
Oh,
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We do gotta talk about. So I'm gonna let you tell them when it's dropping and everything, all the information.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. It will be available in paperback and ebook on Monday, April 19th.
Let's go.
We
It's
lit.
called The Rules of Royalty: Understanding Your Purpose, Privilege, and Position as a Member of God's Royal Family. I have been working on it for more than 5 years. I have poured my whole self into it, and I cannot wait to share it with all of you.
We can't wait to read it.
And that's gonna be it's gonna be fire. I ain't gonna flex. I'm excited. I'm excited, even though that whole Android thing. But I love you, man. I hope y'all enjoyed this. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all my friends who are still my friends, because I
Shout out to mine too, who are still my friends.
because I text back like literally, and then we out. You know what I'm saying? Because I might have a conversation. Like, you might text me. That's why I never get offended when you text me. Like, anybody text me late, because I do that constantly. Like, you text me Monday, and I'm liable to finish that conversation on Wednesday morning, the exact same thing. So shout out to my friends who are
Yes.
still my friends. Stop being so offended. Shout
don't-
out
I
to
don't care.
shout out to Latanya.
Yes.
You really good at this. For
Yeah.
someone who don't like to talk,
I know.
you know what I'm saying?
I don't.
This was clutch.
No Labels Podcast, man. I love y'all. We in the building. We out.